Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joins me now. Jim, today brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Jay.
All right, Jim, so let's talk about the Twins, who have just one more spring training game today before they head to Kansas City to play the Royals to start the season. Your thoughts on this Twins team? How healthy are they heading into the season?
Not healthy enough. Now, it's interesting. We're talking about them having health problems, but Buxton looks the best he's looked in maybe 3 or 4 years in terms of health. He looks great. He's running really well. He's relaxed. He's not worried about the knee. That's a major development. Correa is moving around very well. He should have a representative season. So their position players are remarkably healthy. And as I wrote about in the paper today, they have a chance to be a great offensive team. They were basically a great offensive team after the All-Star break last year, and that was without Correa and Buxton contributing much. So they have a lot of offensive upside throughout the organization. Their top 4 prospects are all potentially elite hitters as well. Pitching, they have the makings of a very good pitching staff. They are not very healthy right now. Losing DeSclafani meant they moved Varland into the rotation, which I don't love. Also, Varland would have been really useful with 3 of their top relievers injured. So pitching health is a worry. If they can survive the early season pitching injuries and if they can score as many runs as I think they're going to score, and if they can get the bullpen lined up with Duran at the end of a very talented group, I think this could be a very good team.
How long is Duran going to be out? Do we have a better idea?
I mean, it's an oblique, and they're so sensitive. They've talked about it not being a particularly serious injury, and they just want to be really careful with it. But, I think we're probably looking mid to late April, which isn't great.
And Griffin Jax is likely going to step into that role, or could it depend on situation?
I think Jax might get the first shot at it, but I think it'll also be situational, and it could change any day. When somebody doesn't really have the closer title, you can use them when you want or not use them when you want. Brock Stewart has even better stuff than Griffin Jax, so it'll probably be a read and react situation.
Do they feel comfortable with the bullpen roles, or is this, with all the injuries, just making things challenging for what they're going to do when they start the year?
Both. I mean, they still have a lot of good arms out there, but your all-star closer is your all-star closer. They're missing their all-star closer, their best left-hander, and now kind of the right-hander they thought would give hitters a different look in Topa, who throws more of a sinker than all the gas that most of the other guys throw. So they still have decent arms out there, but they certainly don't have the overpowering depth they hope to start the season with.
Jim, you mentioned Byron Buxton and how he's playing. He's batting, I think it's .296 this spring. I know numbers, a lot of times we talk about don't matter that much. But he's been able to play consistently in center field, played another, bunch of innings, had 3 at-bats, played center field yesterday. Largely, he's come away from things feeling pretty good?
Yes, he had one game where they pulled him out of the starting lineup because of some, I think, back tightness, and then he went and hit in the cage, and he was fine. Listen, everybody's going to be paranoid. Everybody's going to be very cautious with him, but he really hasn't had any trouble with the knee, and that just isn't the case most springs. Last spring they were hoping he was going to be ready, and he showed up and he couldn't really run. It was like, and then they went and got Michael Taylor, and then they made Buxton a DH, and that did not work out well. So, I mean, for all the other problems, all the other injury problems, if Byron Buxton's healthy and playing well, that just raises the ceiling for the franchise.
Jim, do you think Buxton is a better hitter when he can play defensively as well?
No doubt. He did not adapt well to being a DH last year. He spent way too much time in the cage. He's like the golfer who's on the first tee thinking about mechanics. Well, you can't think about mechanics and hit a golf ball. Well, you can't think about mechanics and hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He got out of his athletic mode where, okay, if I made an out, I'm going to go take a hit away from you in the outfield. And he went into mechanical mode and just thought about his swing the whole time, and it did not work. So, listen, they're probably still going to need him to DH sometimes, but they're hoping that playing the field more will help him through being an occasional DH, where last year he did not handle being a primary DH.
Jim, last night in women's college basketball, Iowa was able to survive. Connecticut was able to win as well, so they both are safely into the Sweet 16. Not a lot of upsets on the women's side, but Iowa's game was pretty close against West Virginia.
West Virginia played really hard, really physical basketball, and Iowa did not handle it well early. Iowa looked like they were pressing early. Last game for Caitlin Clark at home, huge expectations, and other than Caitlin Clark stepping back and hitting some 25-footers, they just didn't run a very good offense, and they let West Virginia take away their passing lanes. So West Virginia really made it an ugly game. Iowa still had enough to get by. It was a treat last night, though. We got to see Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, and Juju Watkins all play on the same night on national TV, and it was pretty spectacular. Very interesting development. Beckers has been absolutely dominant early in this tournament. She had 32 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists last night. She just has such a great sense of when to shoot, when to pass. She's a brilliant passer. She's a great shooter. She can hit the floater. She runs her team brilliantly. She can play off the ball. And, Gino Auriemma is making a point of saying she's the best player in basketball right now, which is obviously reference to he thinks she's outplaying Caitlin Clark right now, which is a great debate for the women's game because they're both spectacular.
Is Paige Beckers going to go into the WNBA draft this year?
She's going to wait another year.
Okay.
At least that's the announced decision. Maybe she could change her mind, but it looks like she's going to wait another year.
Okay, because otherwise it would have been a debate on who goes first between those two.
I think Caitlin Clark would go first. She's bigger, stronger, had the better college career, has more shooting range. I mean, Caitlin Clark is probably the best college basketball player of all time, and Beckers is pretty close to her. That's where we are with the women's game right now. I think Caitlin Clark would go on number 1, and Paige Beckers would go on number 2.
Jim, with the men's game, as soon as teams get knocked out, it's either coaches get dismissed or there's guys going into the transfer portal. So the Gopher men's basketball team, nobody's announced that I'm aware of that has gone into the transfer portal, but there's some talk that Cam Christie could be drafted in this year's draft. Do you think that that's a possibility?
No. He's a really nice player. I think he's going to be an excellent college player. I think he's going to be an NBA player, but he's not ready. He's not anywhere close to being ready. When he can't dominate the Big Ten, you have no business going to the NBA draft. And he did not dominate the Big Ten. He had moments. He had flashes of potential. He's not ready. He's not anywhere close for it. He won't get drafted. So no, I don't see that happening.
Do you think he sticks around with the Gophers?
I have no way of predicting that. I think he should. I think that he made progress this year. I think they have a chance, if they keep everybody, to be a really good team next year. And I think it would really be good for his resume if he stayed here and helped this team build a winner.
Jim, switching attention to some of the other things going on, the Timberwolves are going to play tomorrow night against Detroit. They're currently a game and a half back at Denver. Denver's now got into first place. OKC is a half game back up on the Wolves. When you look at, who they could play in the first round, right now it'd be Sacramento, but you got Dallas right there with them. Do you think that there are some matchups that are better for them than others in that first round?
Maybe, but, I've had this conversation with a bunch of Timberwolves employees, and I had this conversation with John Krasinski on the Krasinski podcast this week. There are no good matchups. Do you want to play Steph Curry? Do you want to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Do you want to play Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? Do you want to play the Kings, who are too quick at the point guard? The Kings, early in the season, I thought the Kings were a good matchup for this team. Then you watch them play and you go, oh, man, they have people who can actually hurt the Wolves defense. Not many players can do that. There are no good matchups. So it's very simple for the Wolves. Play the best you can, get the highest seed you can, and understand that you're going to have a tough matchup first round. It's just the way that the West is this year.
Jim, how about Vikings quarterback speculation? They are sitting at 11 and at 23. Do we have a better idea of what they might want to do? Is trading up still something you would have to do? And do you think they'd have to trade up to get McCarthy, or could he be there at 11?
Nobody has any idea what's going to happen. I've never seen it this wide open. Some people think, and we're talking about, credible people. Some people think the Commanders might take Drake May at number 2. If Jaden Daniels falls to number 3, and the Patriots is talking about being willing to trade out of 3. The Cardinals are willing to trade out of 4. We assume the Chargers are willing to trade out of 5. McCarthy, I saw Mike Tannenbaum, the ESPN analyst, former Jets general manager. His mock draft has the Vikings, has the Cardinals taking J.J. McCarthy with the 4th pick and trading Kyler Murray to the Vikings. I mean, that's how many possibilities are out there right now. I don't believe that's going to happen. But, there's no chalk. I mean, we all think Caleb Williams is going to go to the Bears, but nobody knows what's going to happen at number 2. And if the Commanders take Jaden Daniels, then we don't know what the Patriots are going to do, or the Cardinals are going to do, or the Vikings are going to do. And if the Commanders don't take Jaden Daniels, if Jaden Daniels is available at number 3, then people are going to be bombarding the Patriots and maybe the Cardinals to get that pick, because I think Daniels might be the best quarterback in this draft. Then some people have McCarthy going 4. Nobody, including the teams themselves, knows what's going to happen yet. It's just, take your best shot, and you have as good a chance of being right as anybody else.
So at the end of next month, unless something changes, there's going to be a lot of drama in that first round.
Or 5 minutes from now, the Cardinals could and we don't know. I mean, there's no way of knowing. There's absolutely no way of knowing. There could be a major trade later today. There could be, or they might make a trade, either number 2, number 3, number 4. They may make a trade with 5 seconds left on their pick clock. So who knows?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue with it. Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
We have the John Krasinski show up, talking about the Timberwolves and this run they're on. A lot of talk about Karl-Anthony Towns and how they've replaced him. We have the Viking Update show on, talking a lot about the hip drop tackle and how this defense looks at the moment for the Vikings. And we have a good chin music show with Lavelle and Roy up, and everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app. All
right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at Souhan Check out his latest column at Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Dream Getaway 76. We've got code words today and tomorrow and Thursday, and then we announce the winner of Dream Getaway number 76 on Friday morning. So here is your first code word of the day. That code word is puppy. 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 How much is that puppy in the window? Puppy. Puppy. That is the first code word of the day. Type it in. You could win a vacation of a lifetime. Dream Getaways on WJON are brought to you by Red's Transfer and Storage Moving Company, Burst Travel, SB Restoration, and Scotty's Exteriors, Opat's Metals and Roll-Offs, First National Bank of Malacca, Total Control Tree Service, Gilk Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning, and Simpson & Sons Tree Service. Next on WJON, we have world and national news from ABC, followed by local news. We'll leave off from the WJON newsroom.